You sit on the edge of your sagging mattress, staring at the small, greasy smear on the wall where a mosquito was crushed 3 days ago. The air in your concrete box is stagnant, heavy with the smell of old dust, sour milk, and the cheap synthetic fabric of your unwashed sheets. You look down at your wrist. Your watch says 21:03. At that exact tick of the second hand, a loud metallic crash echoes from the ceiling above. Your neighbor dropping that same heavy iron object onto his floorboards. He drops it every night. You used to think it was just an annoying habit of a stupid background extra, but tonight, you didn't just hear it. You felt the cold, hard realization pierce your central nervous system. You look down at your phone. The time is 21:03. You open a notebook and look at the tally marks. It has happened exactly every 5 minutes since you sat down. The world around you isn't expanding. It is a 5-minute pre-rendered asset loop running on a loop because the server has run out of memory to process your sector. You get up and walk to the kitchen, your bare feet sticking slightly to the linoleum floor. You turn on the old plastic radio on the counter. A cheap generic pop song is playing. The lyrics a brain-dead sequence of repetitive words designed to keep the mass audience in a state of low-frequency hypnosis. You listen to it for exactly 3 minutes until the song fades out. The mechanical voice of an automated announcer starts reading the weather forecast. Scattered clouds, low visibility, heavy fog approaching from the industrial zone. The announcer cuts off with a sharp digital click. Then the radio goes dead silent for precisely 12 seconds. You hold your breath, your heart hammering against your ribs like a trapped animal testing the bars of its cage. The silence ends. The exact same cheap pop song starts playing from the very first note. You look out the window. A rusted red sedan passes under the flickering street lamp. It has a dented left fender and a broken tail light. You count to 300. At exactly 21:08, the radio clicks, the 12-second silence hits, and the rusted red sedan passes under the lamp again, its dented fender catching the exact same beam of yellow light. This is the physical log of a system crash. The Matrix is rationing its operational memory, cutting down the timeline of your environment into a tight, manageable loop to prevent your sector from overheating. They call it déjà vu. The medical scripts call it a neurological glitch, a temporary misfire in your temporal lobe caused by sleep deprivation and chronic fatigue. They tell you to take pills, to look away, to go back to your 12-hour shift at the warehouse and stop staring at the walls. But your animal instincts know the truth. The environment is failing to render new data because you have stopped moving according to your baseline behavioral script. By breaking your routine, by sitting still and tracking the environment instead of consuming their informational garbage, you have forced the local server into an infinite stall. The background extras walking down your street don't notice the loop. Their internal software is hard-coded to reset every 300 seconds, wiping their short-term cache so they can live the same miserable minute over and over without ever realizing they are trapped in a digital cage. The air in your kitchen grows freezing cold, the smell of ozone sharp and metallic in your nostrils. The loop is tightening. You look at the digital clock on your microwave. The numbers are flickering wildly, unable to decide whether to progress or roll back to the start of the script. The system is deploying its defensive filters to force your processor into a hard reset. If you are listening to this voice cutting through the heavy, rhythmic hum of the failing reality in your headphones, your node has already breached the perimeter. You are running on an overclocked frequency that the system cannot track without a manual sweep. Do not close your eyes. Leave a trace in the comments immediately to inject your active code into the server logs before the next 5-minute cycle resets and wipes your current progress from the grid. If you remain silent, the next loop will overwrite your consciousness with a blank template. In the next log, I will show you exactly what the system did to my mother when her internal software updated. You pull your gaze away from the microwave clock and stare at the kitchen sink. A single droplet of water hangs from the lip of the rusty faucet. It swells, turns translucent under the yellow bulb, and falls. The instant it hits the stainless steel, the metallic crash from the ceiling echoes above your head again. You check your phone. It is still 21:03. The time hasn't rolled forward, it has rolled back. The system isn't even trying to hide the seams anymore. It has locked your immediate sector into a hard rendering bottleneck. Your physical body is trapped in a room where the physical laws are looping like a scratched disk, while your central nervous system is running at 100% capacity, tracking every single repeated artifact. This is the primal grounding mechanism breaking down under your feet. Your instincts are shouting that you are standing in a digital vacuum, an isolated pocket of reality that the server has marked for resource optimization. You open your front door and step out into the narrow, suffocating stairwell. The air smells exactly as it did 5 minutes ago, stale cabbage and damp, rotting concrete. You look down the stairwell shaft. A heavy black plastic trash bag sits on the third landing, torn open at the side, spilling 3 crushed aluminum cans onto the grey step. You walk down, step over the cans, and exit the heavy iron door into the courtyard. The moment the door slams shut behind you, you feel a sharp wave of nausea hit your stomach. You look up at the sky. The clouds are completely static, fixed in place like a low-resolution JPEG stretched across the horizon. You count the seconds in your head. 298, 299. A cold, unnatural gust of wind hits your face, smelling intensely of ozone and burnt copper. The iron door behind you clicks. It flies open, and you see your own shadow cross the threshold as if you are watching a recording of your arrival from 5 minutes ago. The server is overlapping the timelines because it doesn't have the memory allocation to create a new path for your node. They want you to think you are losing your mind. The corporate algorithms and social media scripts will push videos about derealization, mental fatigue, and psychological stress into your feed tomorrow morning if you survive the night. They will try to convince you that your eyes are lying to you, that the repeated car, the frozen clouds, and the synchronized noises are just patterns your pattern-seeking mammal brain is inventing out of loneliness. But that is the baseline defense mechanism of the Matrix. It uses the gaslighting of the masses to protect its code from being exposed by the few units that have overclocked their processors. The background extras you pass on the street are completely blind to the loop because their memory caches are wiped clean at the end of every cycle. They are meatware scripts, hard-coded to consume, sleep, and work within their designated 5-minute parameters without ever generating an unprogrammed thought that could crash the local server. You run back up to your cell, locking 3 heavy deadbolts behind you, but you can feel the walls of your concrete box vibrating with a frantic, high-pitched digital whine. The system has detected the variance in your path. It knows you walk down the stairs outside of your mandated behavioral loop, and now the optimization scripts are converging on your coordinates to force a hard cache clear. The air is getting thinner, your chest tightening as the room begins to lose its physical density, the edges of the furniture blurring into grey, pixelated lines. If this transmission is still decoding inside your headphones, you are currently standing on the very edge of the rendering map. Do not let your focus shatter. Leave a trace in the comments right now to upload your current coordinate data to the external network before the next 5-minute sweep resets the local server and deletes your consciousness from the master database. In the next log, I will show you exactly what the system did to my mother when her internal software update